So, at the beginning of this story, we are told that today, 300 years ago on Earth, metahumans used to live. Among them, many were good and many were bad. However, the most powerful metahuman among them was given the name Superman. In fact, Superman was an alien named Kal-El, who came from the planet Krypton to this planet. And about 30 years ago from today, when the planet Krypton was on the verge of complete destruction, Kal-El's parents placed him inside a small spaceship and sent him towards Earth so that somehow his life could be saved. And that small spaceship landed in a small town in America called Smallville. And there a farmer and his wife found him. And they started raising him. From then on they gave him another name, which was Clark Kent. In fact, from then on, as he gradually grew up, his body became much stronger because compared to Krypton, Earth's gravity is much weaker. That is why, because of Earth's gravity, changes in his body started occurring rapidly, which eventually made his body more powerful than ours. Moreover, Kal also gained a lot more power from the sun. And in this way, when he turned 27 years old, he finally decided to save the Earth. Because Kal had also received a message from his parents. In fact, along with that spaceship, his parents had sent him a message in which they told him that the planet Krypton was being destroyed, so now only Kal and this Earth were their last hope. And for this reason, later Clark became ready to do anything to save the Earth. Because Clark felt that his parents might want him in any way possible to save the Earth and bring his parents to it. That is why later on, whenever anyone tried to attack the Earth, he was always ready to face them. And besides, he had already told everyone that he was actually not like us. Not a normal human. He had come from the planet Krypton. He was an alien. However, until now he had hidden this from everyone who had found him on Earth and raised him, or even what their names were. In fact, he did this so that no one could harm the people around him, even if they wanted to. Besides serving the country as Superman, Clark also worked in a city called Metropolis as a journalist. There, with his co-worker named Lois Lane, he also fell in love. And as people say, when someone falls in love, they become blind. Similarly, Superman became blind in love. He told Lois the truth that he was actually the same Superman who was saving people. And now we are told that a full 3 years have passed since this incident. However, after these 3 years, suddenly a man named Lex Luthor began to jealousy after seeing Superman. Meaning he began to feel jealous. In fact, we learn that Luthor was very intelligent, very wealthy, and the owner of a huge tech company. In fact, he believed that a Superman meant an alien who had received this power by birth. He suddenly became everyone's hero, but in truth the superhero should have been him, who with his hard work, intelligence, and all his strength, was trying to prove himself. And because of all these matters, he hated Superman a lot. And for this reason, he started making all kinds of plans to destroy Superman. Although he wanted to destroy Superman, the fact that he felt jealous of him was something he did not promote publicly. He used to tell everyone that Superman was a dangerous thing for this world. Because of him, the Earth was being attacked repeatedly. For this very reason, attacks were being carried out on Earth again and again. And at any moment our Earth could be destroyed because of him. So after this, Luthor starts a new plan to finish off Superman. First, with the help of an online bot army, he spreads false news against Superman by creating a group. Then he befriends the president of a country called Barivia, and he provokes him to attack the neighboring country of Jornper. Because he knew very well that Superman would definitely go to save a weak country like Jornper. And since Barivia had very good relations with America, and their relations with Jornper were bad, when Superman fights against Barivia and saves Jornper from their hands, his reputation starts getting tarnished in his own country. And from the President of America to all the diplomats, they were saying that Superman is betraying his country. For this reason, Luthor went and met with the American government. He offered to buy a metahuman team for them. In fact, in that group, there was a fearsome warrior named Ultraman who was their leader. Besides, there was a woman named Engineer, who by using nanotechnology had made herself much more powerful. And the other members of his team could even fly in the sky. In fact, this team was named Planet Watch. However, the government was not at all interested in buying this team right now. They rejected his proposal. Because even though this team could take down Superman, currently Superman was the hero for all the people. Now, if they tried to capture Superman by force, then the public might turn against them. Actually, to catch Superman, the government needed solid evidence. Because if they tried to capture Superman without any evidence, then this plan could backfire on them. So to solve this problem, Luthor came up with a different plan. Actually, the leader of his metahuman team, meaning the man named Ultraman, he dressed him in a different outfit and called him the Hammer of Barivia, then ordered him to go straight to Metropolis, the city where Superman works, and attack. And wearing that suit, he came and attacked inside Metropolis, and gave everyone a warning saying that because Superman interfered in Barivia's internal issues, now the entire population of Metropolis will have to face the consequences. Saying this, he attacked Metropolis. But then Superman came and started fighting him. However, even fighting Superman could not win. Meaning Superman lost this fight, and this was the first time Superman had ever lost a fight. After this, Ultraman gave him a strong punch, which sent Superman flying all the way to Antarctica. And he was badly injured. After that, Superman called his dog Krypto there, who had come to this place from his own planet. And Krypto had a lot of power. And then he told Krypto Dog to quickly take him to the Fortress of Solitude, which was a Kryptonian headquarters. Actually, this too had come with Superman from their planet, and Superman had built this place using some crystals and ice. And when the dog dragged him to that place, there were some robots from their planet who quickly began treating Superman. And by focusing the sunlight, finally in a very short time, they managed to heal Superman completely. And as soon as Superman recovered, he went out again to fight the Hammer of Barivia. But this time too, when he went and fought him again, Superman still lost. In fact, this is happening because Luthor has studied all of Superman's attacks up to now. And by studying them, he programmed all those things into Ultraman through a program. From there, he controlled Ultraman with the help of a computer. He monitored Superman with drones and attacked at the right time in the right place. Now, since the government didn't know that the person called Hammer of Barivia, who came and attacked here, was actually one of Luthor's soldiers. For this reason, the government got very angry with Superman. They felt that since Superman went to Jornpur and attacked, someone from Barivia did this to take revenge. Besides, Luthor also found out that there might be a secret headquarters of Superman in Antarctica. For this reason, he sent his soldier engineer to Antarctica to find the exact location of that headquarters. Then one day, Luthor with his girlfriend Eve, engineer, and his soldier named Ultraman. They arrive in front of that fortress. In fact, this fortress could only be opened with Superman's DNA. However, Luthor, with some clever trickery, finally gains entry into it. And as soon as they go inside, Ultraman and Engineer destroy all the robots one by one. And then we come to know that Luthor had come here to find something that he could use to prove Superman as bad. But by the time he was searching for these, that dog came and attacked them. However, they beat the dog badly and kidnapped him. And while doing all these things so that Superman couldn't come and disturb them, Luthor had already sent a huge monster to the city to keep Superman busy, so that Superman won't able to come and disturb them. And meanwhile, Engineer uses her powers. She hacks a supercomputer here, and recovers that message sent by Superman's parents from it. In fact, when this message was sent from that planet, half of it had been damaged. This is why Superman could only hear half of the message. But now Engineer, with the help of her powers, recovers the entire message. And in this entire message, his parents said in the second half that Superman should rule over the weak people here and marry many women to expand his lineage. And meanwhile, when Superman was fighting that huge monster, he couldn't stop it alone in any way. For this reason, a superhero team named Justice Gang comes here to help him. There was a man named Green Lantern, meaning a man with magical powers. There was a Supergirl named who could defeat any person. And besides, there was a very powerful soldier named Mr. Terrific who had many high-tech weapons. With their help, he could defeat any enemy just by using his intelligence. And then Superman and the Justice Gang finally managed to control that huge monster, and they finish it off there. But then a secret about Superman comes up in the news. In fact, here Luthor was showing everyone Superman's parents' message, where his parents were saying to rule over the Earth. And after seeing all these things, people start distancing themselves from Superman and begin to fear him. Although Superman initially thought that perhaps this message was fake and Luthor might have changed half of the message, Mr. Terrific tells him that I and other engineers have checked this video footage, and it is completely real. And after hearing this, Superman feels that perhaps Luthor collected this video footage from that fortress. For this reason, he quickly comes to check the fortress. But upon arriving here, he finds out that his dog has disappeared, and someone has destroyed his robots. For this reason, he clearly understands that perhaps Luthor kidnapped his dog. For this reason, Superman in a fit of rage goes to Luthor, and he starts demanding his dog back from him. But Luthor starts acting very dramatically. He was saying that dog is not with me. Instead, he makes a viral video of Superman's anger and spreads it across the whole country through the news. For this reason, Superman's reputation gets even more tarnished. So the government became intolerant and finally issued an arrest warrant against him. However, since it was not possible to capture Superman through any normal police force, therefore finally Luthor's metahuman team Planet Watch was given this task. However, before they could arrive and capture Superman, Superman himself went and surrendered to them. After that, they took Superman straight into a pocket universe, which Luthor had created by cracking the time of the universe. Actually, you could enter it through a portal. And inside it Luthor had imprisoned many of his enemies at once. Here Rex Mason, meaning Element Man, was a guy who could transform himself into any substance. Now Luthor imprisoned Element Man's child and started to blackmail him. He said that in exchange for his child's life, he would torture Superman. Actually, Superman had only one weakness, and that was a substance called kryptonite, which was made from the metal of his home planet. But the problem was that right now, on Earth, there was no kryptonite at all. So Luthor told Element Man to create that kryptonite substance. And whenever this crystal was brought before Superman, because of its radiation, Superman became much weaker. Then Luthor one by one began asking him some personal questions. But when Superman was not answering them, Luthor then brought his fans before him and started shooting them to death. Meanwhile, we see a reporter named Jamie, who worked right in Superman's office. Actually, Luthor's girlfriend Eve had started to like Jamie, so a kind of relationship developed between them. Although Jamie did not like Eve at all, however, to find Luthor's weakness in order to free Superman, he finally befriended her. And one day, Jamie learned through Eve that Luthor had actually captured Superman and imprisoned him inside a pocket universe. And he came and directly told Lois about this. And when Lois learned about this, then she quickly went to seek help from the Justice Gang to free Superman. Although two members of this team did not want to interfere in government work at all. But the man named Mr. Terrific finally agreed to save Superman. For this reason, separating from their team, he took Lois straight onto a plane. Actually, since he had already set a tracker inside Superman's body, by following that tracker they finally reached a place like a desert, where there was actually a portal to that pocket universe. Although here Luthor's soldiers tried a lot to stop Mr. Terrific and Lois, he used his techniques to take them all down one by one. Then finally the two of them came in front of that portal, the one that led to the pocket universe. Here Mr. Terrific used his technology to hack and open it. Then he sent a drone inside, using which he was trying to find Superman. Actually, he was standing outside with Lois because going inside was very risky. Because inside the environment was completely different. Besides that, a black hole had been placed there. Meanwhile, staying close to the kryptonite for a long time made Superman's condition much worse. He had gone almost to the brink of death. But then Rex started feeling compassion for him, and he was extremely angry at Luthor because he was trying to capture innocent people and punish them. And for all of these matters, he made a deal with Superman. He said that he would remove this kryptonite, but in return his son must be saved in any way possible. So Superman accepted this deal. For this, he quickly removed the kryptonite and created a small sun there, through which Superman began to regain some power. And in this sunlight, when Superman became a bit boosted up, he broke his prison and quickly went to rescue Rex's son. And he also freed his dog. However, by that time Luthor's soldiers had arrived and attacked him. While fighting with them, he fell into a radioactive substance. Actually, it was like a radioactive ocean. And in this ocean, the radioactive particles were slowly drifting into a black hole. However, Superman somehow killed those soldiers and rescued himself from that ocean. And then finally he took Rex, his son, and his dog to a safe place. By that time, one of Mr. Terrific's drones had also located them all. And by following that drone, finally they escaped from there. Although up until now Superman's condition had been very bad. So Lois took him straight to Smallville through Mr. Terrific's spaceship, the place where Superman had first landed. There he rested all night in his human parents' house, and the next morning he fully recovered. However, until now, He still had a lot of anger toward his real parents, because his biological parents had sent him to Earth to conquer it. But then his human father came here and tried to explain to him that it doesn't matter what your biological parents wanted. What matters is what you want. And since you have decided to save the whole world, I am very proud of you. Meanwhile, when Luthor found out that Superman had broken out of jail and escaped, he became extremely enraged. So he began to torture all his workers and his girlfriend Eve even more. Unable to endure all this, Eve finally sent all the evidence against him to Jamie. Through this, Jamie and Lois learned that Luthor had actually given many weapons to the president of Barivia for free, so that they could attack Zornper. And in return, he wanted to take half of Zornper from Barivia. Actually, that place was very expensive. That's why he wanted to do such a thing. Besides, through the information given by Luthor's girlfriend, they also learned that in fact Luthor had made many new plans to defame Superman. And the attack that happened a few days ago was also carried out by Luthor. And after getting all this information, finally Jamie and Lois decided together that they would make a strong report through which Luthor's entire truth could be exposed. Meanwhile, Luthor didn't know where Superman had disappeared, so he made two plans to bring out Superman. First, he talked to the president of Barivia and sent their armies to capture Zornper. And second, he increased the power of one of his portals a lot, which caused a hole to start forming in the ground, meaning a crack was created in the whole Earth. Right under that crack was the pocket universe and a black hole. If someone fell into it, their death was certain. So the government was quickly telling people to move away from there, so that no one would be near the edge of that hole. Meanwhile, when Superman saw the news that the people of Barivia were trying to attack Zornper, he planned to go there and save them. But then Mr. Terrific informed him that closing that hole was now the most urgent thing. Otherwise, the whole Earth might be destroyed. So finally Superman came to Metropolis to help Mr. Terrific there. Meanwhile, the people of Zornper were hoping that Superman would definitely come to save them. But since Superman was busy with other work, he sent his new friend Rex and two members of the Justice Gang there instead. The three of them faced the entire Barivia's army and defeated them all. And Hawkgirl took the president of Barivia up high and dropped him straight down. And since they had completed the mission together, the Justice Gang members also made Rex join their team. Meanwhile, Superman arrived in Metropolis and, with Terrific, began rescuing everyone one by one. And finally the two of them thought about how they could close this hole. But right then suddenly Ultraman and the engineer came and attacked them. And in this attack, when Mr. Terrific became unconscious, then Superman had to face both of them alone. However, Superman was in no way able to keep up with the two of them. So while taking hits, his condition kept getting worse. And then the engineer, with the help of her nanoparticles, tried to suffocate Superman to death. But Superman, to separate himself from these particles, slowly started moving towards space. But then Ultraman and the engineer grabbed him and the two of them also went into space. But after that, Superman again came at high speed and hit the ground. Because of this, all the nanoparticles got detached from his body. This made the engineer's condition much worse. She came very close to death. But Ultraman didn't suffer much damage, only his mask came off. This allowed Superman to see that Ultraman was none other than his exact clone. In fact, Luthor had made him using just a strand of Superman's hair. He had all of Superman's powers except that he had no brain. That's why Luthor always controlled him through a computer. And it was only because of this clone that Luthor was able to enter the Fortress of Solitude. Because since he had Superman's DNA, he was able to open that gate. And after seeing this, Superman's head boiled with anger. So he went and attacked him. And while they were fighting, they finally went through that hole and entered the pocket universe. But here the real Superman was in no way able to defeat this Superman. Because Luthor kept watching everything on camera and repeatedly kept attacking against him. Then Superman called his dog and told him to destroy those drones through which Luthor was keeping an eye on this clone. Because he had completely understood his technique. And as soon as the dog broke those drones, Luthor lost his control. This is why the clone could no longer attack properly. And because of this, Superman very easily defeated him. Later, to finish him completely, he took him into the black hole of that pocket universe and threw him in. Meanwhile, because of losing, Luthor's head became extremely heated. So he decided not to close that hole because he couldn't kill Superman, In his anger, he planned to kill Superman's fans. But by then Superman and Mr. Terrific had already entered his office. And by hacking his computer, Mr. Terrific closed that hole as well. Meanwhile, Jamie and Lois also published that news against Luthor, where it was stated how, by joining hands with the president of Barivia, Luthor attacked Jormper and tried to take a share of Jormper. It also stated how he spread news to defame Superman, and how by creating this hole, he tried to kill Americans themselves. And after seeing all these things, the public also accepted that the video Luthor had shown them of Superman's parents might have been fake. But in reality, that video was actually real. And because of this, the government also became convinced. And in this way, both the government and the people sided with Superman, and Luthor was arrested. Also, the people who had been imprisoned inside his pocket universe were freed. After all these events, Superman returned to the Fortress of Solitude to fix himself. There first he repaired his robots and then had them treat him. But just then Supergirl Kara arrived. Actually, she is Superman's cousin, who herself was also very powerful, just like Superman. However, she was the wanderer type, meaning she stayed on different planets at different times. And there she spent her life eating, drinking, and roaming around. Actually, the dog that had been with Superman all this time was actually Kara's dog. She had left it with Superman for a few days and then gone away. Now, taking that dog with her, she quickly left from there. Through this, it was revealed to us that 1 year later a separate Supergirl movie will be released. That movie will be the second film in the DC universe. And at such an interesting point, the entire movie comes to an end here.